I never told my daughter Emma about the $65,000 I made every single month. To her, I was just Dad, the tired delivery driver who showed up in the same faded blue uniform, who drove an old white van with a dent in the side, who came home smelling of exhaust and cheap coffee, who always said, "The wedding's on me, sweetheart. Don't you worry about a thing," while counting out crumpled $20 bills on the kitchen table like every penny mattered. She believed me. Everyone believed me. And that was exactly how I wanted it, until the night of the rehearsal dinner. The night her future in-laws, the Whitakers, decided to humiliate the broke delivery driver in front of 200 guests. The night I finally stopped pretending. And the night everything they thought they knew about me shattered like the crystal wine glasses that crashed to the floor when I dropped my final truth on them. Let me take you back. Let me tell you who I really am. Because my daughter Emma, at 27 years old, never knew the truth about her father. To her, I was always the man who worked double shifts, who fixed the leaky faucet himself, who drove her to soccer practice in a van that smelled of old pizza boxes, who told her stories about her late mother Maria every night until she fell asleep. I never corrected her. I never told her that I had built a hospitality empire worth over $400 million. I never told her that I owned the Harlan Grand Estate, the most exclusive wedding venue and luxury hotel in the entire state. I never told her that the delivery job was the perfect cover I created 22 years ago, right after her mother died, so my little girl would grow up knowing the value of hard work instead of the poison of easy money. Why hide it? Because I watched too many rich kids destroy themselves with trust funds and entitlement. Because Maria and I had sworn on our wedding day that if we ever made it big, we would never let money raise our children. Because after she passed, I realized the only thing that I had left to give Emma was the gift of humility. And I was willing to live like a pauper for the rest of my life if it meant she became a better person than the world around her. So, I lived simply. Same small 2-bedroom house we bought when Emma was 3. Same 15-year-old van I drove for work. Same worn leather wallet with the cracked edges. I invested every dollar quietly. I bought properties under shell companies. I built the Harlan brand from a single rundown motel I flipped in 2003 into a chain of 14 luxury venues that celebrities and billionaires fought to book. No one knew, not even Emma. Until the Whitakers entered our lives. James Whitaker, Emma's fiancé, came from old money. His father Reginald ran a chain of private equity firms. His mother Vivian collected designer handbags the way other people collected stamps. They lived in a mansion with a private golf course in the backyard. They summered in the Hamptons. They flew first class everywhere and made sure everyone knew it. When James proposed to Emma 6 months ago, the Whitakers insisted on a proper wedding. Not the intimate garden ceremony Emma dreamed of. Not the simple reception with a local band and homemade centerpieces. No. They wanted 600 guests, a ballroom dripping in crystal chandeliers, a 7-course meal prepared by a Michelin star chef flown in from Paris, and a string quartet that cost more per hour than I supposedly made in a month. Reginald pulled me aside at the engagement party and said, "Richard, we'll cover the big stuff, but we expect the father of the bride to contribute meaningfully. After all, appearances matter." I smiled the small, tired smile of a delivery driver. Of course, whatever Emma wants. Behind the scenes, I paid for everything, quietly, anonymously through my company. I owned the venue they chose, the Harlan Grand Estate. I owned the hotel where all the out-of-town guests were staying. I owned the catering company, the florist they insisted on, even the limousine service. They thought they were throwing the wedding of the century on their dime. They had no idea every single dollar was coming from the man they were about to mock mercilessly. The week before the rehearsal dinner, Emma called me, voice shaking with excitement and nerves. "Daddy, Mrs. Whitaker keeps asking how much you're contributing. She says the groom's side is paying for the rehearsal dinner, and they expect you to at least cover the open bar or something. I told her you're not rich, but you're proud. Please don't let them make you feel small." I chuckled softly into the phone. "Sweetheart, I've been handling difficult people my whole life. I'll be fine. Just enjoy this." She hesitated. "Dad, you're really okay with all this? The costs? The way they talk?" "Emma," I said gently, "I would sell my soul to make you happy. A few snobby comments won't break me." If only she knew I had already paid the entire $2 million wedding bill 3 weeks earlier. Saturday arrived. Rehearsal dinner night. I dressed in the worst outfit I owned, a faded gray polo shirt with a small coffee stain on the collar that I never bothered to wash out, worn khaki pants with a frayed hem, and the same scuffed work boots I wore on deliveries. No watch, no ring, just my old leather wallet and the cheap phone I'd had for 6 years. I looked exactly like what they expected, a broke, exhausted single father who drove a van for a living. Perfect. The Harlan Grand estate sparkled under the evening lights as my old van pulled up to the valet stand. The young attendant in a crisp black uniform recognized me instantly. He was one of my employees, but I gave him the secret nod we had practiced. He played along perfectly, treating me like any other guest. Inside, the private dining hall was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the manicured gardens, tables set with gold-rimmed china, and fresh orchids flown in from Thailand. 200 guests milled around with champagne flutes, laughing too loudly, comparing vacations and stock portfolios. Emma spotted me first. She looked radiant in a soft lavender dress, her dark hair swept up the way her mother used to wear it. She rushed over and hugged me tight. "Daddy, you made it. You look tired. Are you okay?" I kissed her forehead. "Never better, Princess. This place is beautiful." James appeared behind her, tall and polished in his tailored suit. He shook my hand firmly, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. "Mr. Harlan, glad you could join us. My parents are already seated." He said it like he was doing me a favor. I followed them to the head table. Reginald Whitaker sat like a king on his throne. Navy suit, gold cufflinks the size of quarters, silver hair perfectly styled. Vivian sat beside him in a shimmering emerald gown that probably cost more than my house. Her diamond necklace caught every light in the room. They both looked up as I approached. The judgment was instant. Vivian's eyes flicked over my stained polo, my scuffed boots, the cheap canvas bag I carried instead of a briefcase. Her smile was thin and cold. "Richard, so nice of you to make it. We were beginning to wonder if the traffic from wherever you live held you up." Reginald didn't even stand. He offered a limp handshake. "Delivery work on a Saturday, I assume. Must be exhausting." I smiled the humble, slightly nervous smile I had perfected over years. "Just a short route today. Didn't want to miss this." They seated me at the very end of the table, farthest from the center, like an afterthought. No one pulled out my chair. No one offered me a drink. The toast began. James's best man stood up first, some hedge fund guy with a fake tan, and joked, "To the father of the bride, who's probably still paying off that delivery van." Laughter rippled through the room. I chuckled along, eyes down. Then Reginald rose. He clinked his glass and looked straight at me. "We want to thank Richard for contributing what he could. We know times are tough for some folks. But family means stepping up, right? Even if it means skipping a few deliveries this month." More laughter. Emma's face flushed red. She squeezed my hand under the table. "Dad, you don't have to listen to this," she whispered. I squeezed back. "It's fine, honey. Let them talk." Dinner was served. Tiny portions of caviar, Wagyu beef that cost $180 a plate, wines older than Emma. Vivian made sure I noticed. "Richard, this Bordeaux is $450 a bottle. You probably don't get to try things like this on a driver's salary, do you?" I took a small sip. "It's very nice. Thank you." She leaned in, voice dripping with fake sympathy. "We were so surprised when James told us about your situation. A single father, working odd hours, raising a daughter all alone. It must have been so hard. We made sure our children never wanted for anything. Private schools, Europe trips, trust funds at 18. We believe children deserve the best." Reginald nodded. "Exactly. That's why we insisted on this wedding. Emma deserves to start life the right way, not scraping by like, well, some people." I kept my voice small. "You're right. She deserves the world." They spent the next 40 minutes listing every expensive thing they had ever bought for James. The yacht, the ski chalet, the Ivy League education. Every sentence was a knife aimed at me. Emma looked miserable. James shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. Finally, dessert arrived. A chocolate creation with edible gold leaf that Vivian announced cost $95 per plate. She turned to me again. "Richard, we've been meaning to talk to you about something. As parents, we worry. Emma is marrying into our family now. We have a certain standard. We don't want her feeling embarrassed at future events because her father is, well, still doing manual labor at your age." Reginald jumped in. "We've discussed it. We're prepared to offer you a small monthly allowance, say $1,200, enough to cover your bills so you don't have to work those long routes anymore. In return, we ask that you step back a little. Let us handle the public appearances. No offense, but the delivery driver image doesn't exactly match the Whitaker brand." The table went silent. Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Mom and Dad never asked for this. This is humiliating." Vivian waved a manicured hand. "We're only thinking of the family image, dear. Your father seems like a proud man. He'll understand." I looked down at my plate for a long moment, letting the silence stretch until it became uncomfortable. Then I slowly placed my napkin on the table. My posture changed, shoulders back, eyes clear, voice no longer small. "You know," I said calmly, "I've listened to you talk about money all night, how much everything costs, how much you've given your son, how little I apparently have. But not once have you asked me a single question about who I actually am. Not once have you asked how I raised Emma alone after her mother died of cancer when she was only 7. Not once have you asked what I sacrificed so my daughter could have the kind of love money can't buy." Vivian blinked, surprised by the shift in my tone. I continued, voice steady and carrying across the entire room now. "You assumed I was broke. You assumed I was less. And you enjoyed it. You enjoyed making me feel small in front of my own daughter." Reginald smirked. "Richard, there's no need to get defensive. We're offering help." I stood up slowly. Every eye in the room was on me. "Let me introduce myself properly," I said. "My name is Richard Harlan. Not just a delivery driver. I am the founder and owner of Harlan Hospitality Group." A few people gasped. I looked directly at the head table. "I own this entire estate. Every chandelier, every plate, every bottle of that $450 wine you've been bragging about. I own the hotel where you're all staying tonight. I own the company that delivered the flowers, the linens, the food. I paid for this entire wedding 3 weeks ago. $2 million. without telling a soul, because the only thing I care about is my daughter's happiness. Dead silence. Emma's mouth fell open. Dad. What? I kept going, voice calm but powerful. I drove a delivery van for 22 years, not because I had to, but because I chose to. I wanted Emma to grow up knowing the dignity of work. I wanted her to value people, not portfolios. I wanted her to become the kind of woman who would never treat another human being the way you've treated me tonight. I turned to Reginald and Vivian. You offered me $1,200 a month to disappear from my daughter's life so I wouldn't embarrass you. Let me make you a counteroffer. I will write you a check for $10 million right now if you can name one single act of genuine kindness you've ever shown to someone who couldn't do anything for you. They said nothing. I smiled coldly. That's what I thought. I reached into my canvas bag and pulled out a Black American Express Centurion card, the one less than 1% of people in the world even know exists. I placed it on the table in front of Vivian. This dinner is on me. Consider it a gift from the broke delivery driver. And while we're at it, I've already arranged for every guest here to receive a handwritten note from me, explaining exactly why the father of the bride paid for everything, and why the Whitakers spent the night trying to humiliate him. The room erupted in whispers. Emma stood up, tears streaming down her face. She walked around the table and threw her arms around me. Daddy, I had no idea. All these years. You did all of this for me. I hugged her tightly, the first real hug I'd allowed myself in public in decades. Every single day, Princess. Your mother would be so proud of the woman you've become, and I'm proud that you chose kindness over money. James looked like he might faint. Mr. Harlan, we didn't know. You didn't ask, I said simply. I turned back to the Whitakers. The wedding will still happen, because my daughter loves your son, but there will be new rules, no more comments about money, no more public humiliation, no more treating people based on their bank accounts. If you cross that line even once, I will quietly sell every asset I own in this city and make sure your precious brand becomes a cautionary tale. Vivian's face was bright red. Reginald looked like someone had slapped him. I picked up the Centurion card and handed it to the waiter who had been standing nervously nearby. Please charge the entire evening and add a 50% tip for the staff who had to listen to all of this. The waiter nodded, eyes wide. Yes, Mr. Harlan. Right away, sir. I looked at my daughter one more time. Emma, I'm sorry I kept this from you for so long. I thought I was protecting you. But tonight I realized the only thing I was really protecting was my own fear of losing the simple life we built together. She wiped her tears. I love you, Dad, more than anything. And I'm so sorry they treated you like that. I kissed her cheek. It's over now. Go enjoy the rest of your night. Tomorrow we'll talk about the wedding you actually want, not the one they demanded. I walked out of the grand ballroom with my head high for the first time in years. The valet brought my old white van around. I tipped him generously, cash from my worn wallet, and climbed in. As I drove away from the glittering lights of the estate I owned, I felt something I hadn't felt in decades: freedom. The next morning, Emma showed up at my little house at 7 a.m. with coffee and bagels. She looked like she hadn't slept. We sat on the same worn couch we'd had since she was a kid. Dad, she said quietly, I read the company filings last night. Everything you said, it's true. You're worth hundreds of millions. Why on earth did you live like this? I took a long sip of coffee. Because money changes people, Emma. I watched it happen to friends. I watched it almost happen to me after your mother died. The only way I knew to keep you safe was to make sure you never thought money was the answer to everything." She reached over and took my hand. "I wish Mom could see what you did for us." "She does," I whispered. "I feel her every single day." We talked for hours about the wedding she really wanted, smaller, more personal, with the people who truly mattered, about the boundaries we would set with the Whitakers, about the trust fund I had quietly set up for her and any future grandchildren, one that would only be released if they proved they understood the value of hard work. James came by later that afternoon. He looked pale and humble. "Mr. Harlan?" "Richard, I'm so sorry. I should have stood up for you last night. I was raised to believe money was everything. I see now how wrong that is." I studied him for a long moment. "Actions matter more than words, James. Prove it to me every single day you're married to my daughter. Treat her the way she deserves, and never again let your parents speak to anyone the way they spoke to me." He nodded. "I will. I promise." The wedding went ahead 2 weeks later. It was still beautiful, but it was Emma's version. Smaller guest list, local band, centerpieces made by her friends, a simple but elegant reception at the Harlan Grand Estate. Paid for by me, of course. But this time everyone knew it. The Whitakers attended. They were quiet, polite, almost meek. Vivian even pulled me aside at one point and said, voice trembling, "I misjudged you, Richard. I'm sorry." I accepted the apology because my daughter deserved peace. But I never forgot, and I never went back to pretending. I sold the old van the next month. I kept the little house. It was home. But I started living openly, as the man I had always been. Emma moved into the family business part-time while finishing her master's degree. She learned the value of work from the ground up, just like I wanted. The Whitakers learned a lesson they would never forget. And I finally learned that sometimes the greatest gift you can give your child isn't protection from the truth. It's the courage to live it. That night at the rehearsal dinner changed everything. Not because I revealed my wealth, but because I revealed my heart. And in the end, that was the only thing that ever really mattered. Did you like the story? Which part hit you the hardest? The humiliation, the reveal, or the father-daughter moment at the end? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this story moved you, please hit that super thanks button so I can keep creating more powerful life stories like this one. I'm listening from Brampton, Ontario. Where are you watching from? Let's connect in the comments. And if you want more stories about secret wealth, family revenge, and lessons money can't buy, subscribe and turn on notifications. There are 2 brand new stories waiting for you on the screen right now. See you in the next one. With love and respect.